Welcome everyone to today's webinar. My name is Greg Schmidt. I'll be the presenter for today's webinar. And today's topic is, what is your data trying to tell you? Being able to use the data that your business collects daily on the IBMI and across the organization on other business platforms is key to moving your business forward. Telling stories with that data does not always have to be complex and challenging. In fact, it's simplified with SQL BI. Today, you will be learning how to tell effective data stories and use visual graphics and charts to explain that data and to tell the best stories. I will also be showing you how you can easily create views and dashboards by combining business data across your IBMI and DB2 databases and Windows databases. And you'll also see different options you can deploy those views and objects to different users using the SQL BI solution. And last of all, I'll show you how quickly you can get started telling data stories with the live data, no matter what level of SQL knowledge you may have. Again, my name is Greg Schmidt. I'm a 20+ year veteran in data, document, forms, and process automation with specialties in business intelligence and document and forms automation. I've been key in helping companies automate their data and document processes and streamlining their troublesome and often cumbersome business processes with technology and strategic planning for digital transformation. I help guide companies in best practices for implementation and solution expansion within their organizations. And I also have over a decade's worth of experience in the IBMI report and data distribution and robotic process automation technology. Okay, on to today's agenda. I'm going to start with a quick overview of the digital transformation toolkit from some of the offerings here at Help Systems. And then I'll move into the main topic today is, what is your data trying to tell you? And then I'll be doing a live demonstration of our SQL BI a business intelligence solution. And then I'll finish up with some Q&A at the end if time permits. Feel free to enter any questions into the chat window as I'm going forward here, and I will address them towards the end of the webinar if time allows. Please select all presenters so all those questions are directed towards me, and I will plan to complete this session in about 30 minutes so you'll have plenty of time to make your next important meeting. Also, this event is being recorded and you will receive a link after the webinar to share with anyone in your organization who could not attend today's session. With the Help System Digital Transformation Suite of Solutions, we can help you at every level of your digital transformation journey. Starting with the business intelligence, which we'll be talking more in depth about today. It is used for accessing your business data on the IBMI and other databases you may have, and it allows you to examine, measure, and extract insights, and in turn, improve the company's competitive advantages by seeing data trends and measuring effectiveness. Document report management for the secure access and approval of documents and reports. Forms management for the web-based forms, data collection, and document creation and approval of business forms. Advanced OCR data extraction and document classification automation. This is really so it helps the automation of the document capture and does auto classification of the documents, in which will in turn eliminates the keying of the data to your ERP because of the document classification and extraction process. Robotic process automation to really help you orchestrate and automate any business user or server-based tasks that are done manually today. And last of all, we can help you at any of your departmental automation processes like accounts payable, accounts receivable, and even HR automation processes. Companies today need to be able to use data that their business systems collect on a daily basis more efficiently. If that data lives native to the IBMI on a DB2 database, or as many organizations today may have a mixture of other business platforms that are key in moving that business forward. And being able to take all the data, no matter where it lives, and use it to do deeper business analysis on and tell data stories. With SQL Business Intelligence, we are helping IT and business users in organizations access and deploy their complex business data and turn it into actionable insights. We empower IT and business users by helping IT to translate and deliver lots of data from different data sources into clear and actionable stories with easy to use interfaces and making users more self-sufficient in accessing the data they need by removing that need for IT to do any time-consuming coding and building of complex data warehouses by IT. This will in turn enable the business users to make quick, informed decisions and improve overall performance and health of the organization by being able to look at real-time data when they need it and how they need it. Many companies today still have not begun to use the data they collect as a strategic differentiator. They might be using data to make decisions, but it's only the high-level data being used today. To be more competitive in today's market, you need to be able to analyze the data deeper and be able to create relationships between it and use it to see those better stories that the data is trying to tell. Stories are there, you just need to know how to pull them out. Your business data is trying to tell you different things. And if you are not using it correctly, or if you don't have the correct tools to use it, your organization is missing out and can even be suffering from it. Your data might be simply telling you that you need to make course corrections for the company because the cost of goods is not balancing with the profit margins it's being sold for. Or it might be trying to tell you where you have high performing areas of the business where you can take advantage of and expand further. Or it even could be telling you things like that your employees are working more and more overtime in the last year. So you might want to make sure you're staffed correctly so you can grow without burning out your employees. Being able to use your data to create easy to consume charts and graphs, or even just data views to show trends is key to all successful businesses today. Data is powerful in today's world. You are always collecting it, and you should always be using it to pull out what it is trying to tell you. All companies know they need to start understanding the data better, but data is not always easy to understand sometimes. Data can be complex and just not visually appealing to most people's brains, especially if you're looking at the raw data. Raw data is nothing pretty to the naked eye. Organizations today collect so much data, when they look at all the data, they don't even know what to do with it all. And knowing where to start is half the battle when it comes to doing data analysis. When it comes to data and just about everything in life today, you need to walk before you run. And first, understand all the data that your organization is collecting. And from that starting point, you can then determine what data is valuable to your organization and its operations and growth. It's hard to believe, but data is not yet strategic for all organizations today. While many success stories confirm that data can add numerous value, most organizations still struggle to build the data into their business strategies and align their data efforts to the needs of the business. The process to start understanding what your data is trying to tell you starts with understanding the 4 core storytelling stages. The 4 core stages in data storytelling are the collection of data, which I sort of talked a little bit about already, creating the visual story, working with the data, and also delivering the story. Starting with stage one, the collection of data. Data collection consists of knowing the following. Where is the data at? Is it on the IBMI database, or is it in another database or system? Do I have access to that data? How is that data collected into the organization, and who is collecting it? Other questions you might want to start asking yourself as well is, how is that data laid out for me to use it? Is that data, is it laid out in more of a complex manner or a simplified manner? Is this the data that I need to tell the right story for my user groups? And finally, is the data creditable and secure? And remember, good data stories just don't come from data. The story is often hidden in the data relationships and also needs narrative around it. When you start to play with your data, you'll begin to see how each data point relates to one another and how the story starts to develop. The patterns you'll start to see, or don't see in some cases, will help you uncover what, if any, story is there. If you don't see anything that is jumping out at you from the data that you're doing the analysis on, that's okay. You might just want to keep moving on to another data set or even see other data points and keep that process going until you uncover what you need to be able to tell that story. The second core function is creating the story with the data that you just discovered. So taking that data you found in the data collection stage and now being able to use that raw data and turn it into data insights and data stories. Once you think you found your story, follow one simple tip to make sure you're telling it efficiently. Know who you're building that data story for. Effective data storytelling doesn't mean you tell whatever story you want. You have to make it easy to follow and consume for your audience. Data stories can be very boring, but try to hone in on the most interesting angles. And if all possible, use graphs and charts that make the data jump. Remember that it's your job to turn that data into an easy to digest data story. Speak to people in a way that they understand and provide as much context and detail as possible without overwhelming them. Your data story should be intuitive and easy to follow. Again, don't overload people, but also don't make them hunt for the insights either. Data storytelling isn't always easy, but it's always worth it at the end. The last two storytelling stages work very close together. So working with the data and delivering the story. So being able to get the data into formats that users need and want is key to this entire process. Most of the time, users want to work with the data in spreadsheets, but the format of the data really depends on the kind of story you are trying to tell and how you want your audience to consume it. Spreadsheets are great for users that need to dive into the data deeper, but most managers and executives would rather see reports or a dashboard that they can consume faster and see trends and insights at more of a higher level so they can consume that more quickly during that process. Now, going back to the users that need to work with the data deeper, in that case, it's better to get them the data in a spreadsheet or even a pivot table so they can manipulate and work with the data further as needed. Power users in most companies need need that ability to move the data around easily because they might be telling multiple stories with the business data. So being able to prompt or reprompt for other data sets quickly, or have planned or dynamic drill downs to the behind the scenes data is key to the stories that they are trying to tell and how they're going to try to deliver that to the user community. And last of all, delivering the story. At the last step, it's all about making it easy to visualize your data and deliver it to the business users in the way they need it, by setting up automated delivery options or giving them a web interface to access predefined data sets at their fingertips. Giving real-time access to business data is a very powerful weapon to drive the business forward in today's competitive world. Having multiple ways to deliver that information to the users, depending on the different scenarios and the story you're trying to tell, is key to all the BI applications that you're running inside of your organization. In a few minutes, when I get into the live demonstration, I'll be showing the SQL BI solution and how you can give access to your data and organization securely through web browser interfaces and also through dashboards and Excel plugins. Now, as you start to create all these data stories, you might be asking yourself, what is the best story? And what is it comprised of? Well, that is a very debatable topic, but where I think the best data story lives is right in the middle. In the middle of what, you may ask? Right in the middle of the data, the visuals, and the narrative. It's an equal balance of all of them, not overwhelming any one person that is looking at the data story, but being able to show high-level stories with graphs and charts, and also using data elements in the story to show the detail, but not too much detail. And if they want more detail, it's just one click away from them in a drill down menu. If it is a spreadsheet delivered via automated email, a data view via accessing it via the web browser, or even a dashboard, telling a story with data is essential to every business and its operations. With our SQL BI solution, we can help you at every step by creating data views and helping you understand your data. SQL BI is built with DB2 in mind, but it also allows you to work with other business data that lives on your network as well, like Oracle, MySQL, Microsoft SQL Server, and other types of Type 4 JDBC driver compatible databases. With SQL BI, we use a three-step methodology of collecting and discovering live data for all your organization's business systems, understanding and designing around the data that you are collecting for real-time access to your business insights that may live, that lives inside the data. And this can be done with data-centric views or in a more graphical manner with graphs and charts to show the data stories and in an easier way to consume by the end user. And then you can share and deploy to your business users using the web browser interface for zero application footprint, deploying web-based dashboards, or directly access in Microsoft Excel using the SQL BI plugins. And remember, don't fear that data. No matter what level of SQL skills you have or are at today, or even don't have, you can still access your data and use it efficiently. Let the technology do the work for you. We can help you at every level, from expert level all the way down to beginner level to even the end user with no SQL skills at all. Our easy-to-use interface allows you to get to the data easily and tell your stories with the data. We are also keeping the end result in mind at all times. So With the SQL BI solution, we offer a variety of ways to provide users the data they need and also apply automation options if needed to streamline it for IT and the business user community. On this slide, it shows how we can use dashboards to share via desktops or web interfaces for analyzing key business metrics, pivot tables for looking at data and slicing and dicing it in all sorts of different ways. Drill down analysis can be applied to views and dashboards for increased transparency to information that is used behind the scenes to create those data stories. Graphs and charts for the visual representation of the data for making that storytelling deeper and easier to consume and understand. And also that on-demand access such as one-click output to Excel via the SQL Microsoft Excel plugins. All right, so I'm gonna move into the live demonstration here now. So I'm gonna do a brief demonstration of the SQL BI solution. And I'm going to be focusing on a few key areas of the solution first here today, but I want to start with sort of the different ways you can create the views and even import some of those views. And then at the end, I want to focus in on sort of that and leave you with the thought process around, visualizing that data through those different interfaces. All right, now the live demonstration here, I'm going to start with sort of that user, creating those user stories or creating stories here. And I'm going to start at I'll call it the lowest level from the standpoint of knowledge, right? So users in most cases might not have knowledge of how the data is laid out or how certain things may look inside the business system, and you don't want to give them access to that, right? From a business standpoint or IT, you don't want to create that nightmare from that standpoint, and a training problem as well. So what you can do from an IT deployment standpoint is really deploy what we call templates, and a template is a way for IT to create those connections in the background already, right? So and basically say, you know what, here is your data that you can go after. What data do you want? Now, again, they don't have to understand that database and certain things inside there, right? So they can come in here and say, you know what, I want all this information here. I want to know the credit amounts. I want to know the orders, the order dates. I want to know the products, and I'm going to add that to that process here. And you can say, okay, and then you can go deeper into some of these things too. So if you want to be able to filter on certain things and get certain information and conditions and values, so this sort of walks them through this process here. Then they can then you can when you hit the finish, they can do different things whether they want to deliver to it or if you just want to if they want to see those results inside inside their view here at that point. But this is going to build that information to sort of show them that that data there. Now they can work with this data farther at this point too. So this is through this interface here, through the desktop client. But this is also going to allow them to do certain things too, like if they want to do graphs and charts and subtotals and all that good stuff inside here, so they have access to do different things with that data inside of here. So this gives them that capability to be able to work with that structure a little bit. But great way to be able to deploy to those users that don't have or don't need to know that database structure below you, so you can guide them to that information. Now we also have ways inside of here if you already are using products and stuff like that, like say it's Query 400 stuff, or you want to import some query definitions in, right? And let me put this in here. I'll find my library with those in there. So say you already have query definitions built, and you want to import those. We do have import wizards for those. So very easy for IT to deploy some of those different things. And once you import those queries, they're accessible right away. So you can double click on those queries and then access those queries directly through through here to be able to view and access standpoint. Now those queries are also available inside the web interface. So if I go to that folder where I put that query at, I can log in through a web browser here now and access those queries directly through the web browser. So if I want to view those, I can double click on those, or in this case, a single one, and access that like I just did in the desktop application in the designer, but now I can access those directly through the web interface. So we make that very easy to be able to use these different functions inside of here. Now, I'll come back to that here in just a second, but from the other ways to be able to design, now if I import something in, if I create new, it doesn't make a difference. I can come in here and do new design or edit something inside of here. But when I design something, again, it's all dependent on the level of knowledge that that person might have, right? I might be an expert, I'll call it expert level, or I can dissect the SQL code and understand that and add things and fine tune things. So I'll call it, that's a select group of people that like to be able to do that and be able to see that kind of stuff and say, oh, there's inner joins and outer joins and certain things. I'm more of the visual standpoint. I love that, I'll call it that intermediate level, right? I'd like to be able to see the SQL code, but then I also like to be able to see the visual representation and on how the data is laid out in those databases. So we have what we call this Files and Fields tab here that allows you to see some of that information inside of here and work with that data, and then use this to be able to drag and drop into these different into the different layouts and stuff like that on which it's going to be displayed. We also do have that view builder here. This view builder does give that sort of that step above the design standpoint or the template option. This does give them that scenario more of a wizard feel where they can select the data sources and go more of a tabular view and do certain things inside of here and select them and finish it. So that does give them that capability there to be able to interact with it. However you're designing these, right, through all these different functions, if you're using the SQL structure, if you're using the Files and Fields tab, it really think of that end result. That's a really important piece to to this part of the conversation here, is that end result is being able to use this information and deploy this information via the web browser, right? So and fingertip access to this information. So being able to allow a user to go and access different views they might have inside of there, or access different dashboards or applications or scripts that you might create back there, or even bookmark things for users to use, right? So in some cases, you might want to bookmark things and say, hey, this is a dashboard that I have out here that I want my users to have access to, or different kinds of flows or different kinds of data views. They have access to that and they can execute these securely inside the system. So you do have capability of that inside of here to be able to access that information. So as this information loads and refreshes, this is an example of I'll call it a dashboard that has multiple structures to it from that standpoint. And you can see high level data, and I'm going to go here as that one's loading here so you can sort of see it here. But that's through the web interface, and there's also, you can link it through the web browser here as well. But this is basically showing you and allows that high level looking of data, right? So not overwhelming everyone of those different data sets, but being able to show them that different information here, but also work with that data inside the graphs and charts, and even reorganize information too. So I might want to reprompt on something inside of here and say, you know what, I want to reprompt on the information here, and I'm going to select BMX in this case. And you'll see as I reprompt on more of these data views, some of my visual elements are going to change as well, because now those are linked together. So that's a really cool feature inside there. So as my data views change, I can do that. But you can also link to other systems and other functions inside of your organization. So this is a nice way to be able to process that. All right, so that's a short demo of short view of dashboards and being able to access and design and stuff like that. But feel free to reach out to us if you have any other questions. All right, we got some time here for some questions. All right, feel free to keep entering questions while I review some of the results here. Again, if I don't get to all the questions, and I probably won't, just because of time, we will be following up with you afterwards as well. All right. I'm going to start with this question here. It looks like it's a question from a current SQL customer, SQL BI customer. We have SQL, but not the browser access like you showed. How can we get that? Oh, perfect. Yeah. With that, yeah, I would suggest that you reach out to our sales rep or your sales representative here at Help Systems, or even support, and we can look at your account licensing to see if you have that or not. And if you do, we can actually get that installed pretty quickly. It'd probably take about 30 minutes for us to get that installed, or if it's just a license, you probably have it installed, probably just need a license for that as well. But that is a component of that, so the SQL web interface. And for users to access the data views and dashboards that are created for them, do you have to install an application on their PC? No, and that sort of goes off that last one. So that SQL web interface is a way to deploy those different data views via the web browser interface. So you don't have to have anything installed on those local machines. So there's zero footprint to that. And also dashboards can be linked directly through the web interface as well. Now, for the one thing I do want to clarify though on that too, so there was one install. So for anything with what I was referring to as the Excel plugins for SQL, those are an installed feature at that point, but just sort of a plug-in to the Microsoft Office products. All right, and just for time purposes, I'm just gonna grab one more here. Let me filter through these. Do you have a training that is offered with the solution? The answer is yes with that. So we do help you during the installation process, and if you're trialing, there was a question about trialing here too. If you are in a trial, we do walk you through that process inside of there, but we do offer more extensive training courses, either live or recorded, depending on what works best for your schedule and how you guys can consume that. But we do offer those different courses as well as some of that guidance when we're walking you through the process. And also those training courses that we offer are at different levels from beginner, intermediate to advanced as well. All right, there's still some great questions out there, but I'm just not going to get to all of them here today just because of time. So we'll be following up with you after the webinar for anyone who has submitted those other questions here. I just want to thank everyone for attending today's webinar. We hope you've learned some helpful information about what is your data trying to tell you and how you can start to create some of these data stories by using some of those different kinds of scenarios and tactics in there. If you have any additional questions, feel free to reach out to us and reach out to myself or the sales team. And we'll be happy to schedule a one-on-one, more live demonstration kind of a thing, or just to answer your questions. You'll receive a link, recording link to the webinar, so you can share with anyone in your company who could not come to today's session. Thanks again for attending today's webinar. Hope you found all the information here today useful. Have a great day and enjoy the rest of your week.